Dad called me. "I've given your stepsister the money from the house you sold. She's very grateful to you." I didn't say anything. I just came the next day, and then angry eye. It was late when my phone rang. "Dad." Nothing unusual. We talked now and then, mostly about nothing. I answered without giving it much thought. At first it was normal. He asked about work, how I was settling in. I gave short answers, distracted. Then, out of nowhere, he said something that made my whole body go cold. "I gave your stepsister Olivia the money for the house you sold. She's very grateful." I thought I misheard him. "You what?" He sounded casual, even pleased with himself. As if he had done something good. He explained that Olivia had been in a difficult situation. She told him that she was in danger of losing her home because she had fallen behind on her mortgage payments. She was facing foreclosure. She had begged him for help, crying about how unfair it was, how she had no one else to turn to. And because he respected his wife, my stepmother, he couldn't refuse. He thought I wouldn't mind. I gripped the phone tighter. "Dad, are you kidding?" No hesitation. He wasn't. My stomach churned. $146,000. That was all I had left after selling my house. I had to leave the state for a while for work, and instead of putting it in a bank, I had asked my dad to hold it. He had a safe. I thought that was the safest option. I thought I could trust him. "Did you give her everything?" I asked, forcing my voice to stay calm. There was a pause. Just long enough for me to hear the answer. I hung up. For a few seconds I just stood there, gripping my phone so tightly that my hand hurt. My pulse was pounding in my ears. Then, suddenly, I moved. My body went on autopilot. I canceled every plan I had. Piled my clothes into a suitcase. Checked out of the hotel where I'd been staying. My hands shook as I booked the next flight back. I didn't care how much it cost. I just had to get there. The airport was a blur. I barely remember going through security or boarding the plane. My mind was racing, replaying the phone call over and over. My father had just given Olivia my money, and she was grateful. It was after midnight when I landed, but I didn't care. I grabbed my bag, rushed out and got into the first cab I saw. "Drive fast," I told the driver. He didn't ask any questions. The city flashed by as we sped through the empty streets. I stared out the window, gripping the seat, my mind spinning. Had Olivia really been in danger of losing her home? Had she lied to my father? Or had she just seen an opportunity and taken it? And most importantly, how was I going to get my money back? I didn't know what I was getting myself into. But I did know one thing. This wasn't going to end the way Olivia thought it would. The taxi sped through the dark streets, the city lights flashing by, but my mind was elsewhere. I kept replaying the conversation with my father, each word cutting deeper. Did he really think I wouldn't mind? That I'd just accept this? $146,000 gone. And for what? Olivia's mortgage? Her house at risk? It didn't add up. Olivia had always lived comfortably. She wasn't rich, but she wasn't struggling. As far as I could tell, she had a good job, drove a brand new SUV, and took several vacations a year. So why the sudden financial crisis? I didn't buy it. The taxi pulled up to my dad's house. I threw some cash at the driver and jumped out before he could count it. My heart was pounding as I walked to the door and rang. Nothing. I rang it again. And again. Then I knocked hard. A few seconds later, the porch light came on. The door opened and my father stood there, his face pale, his eyes red as if he hadn't slept. He looked startled to see me, as if he hadn't expected me to actually come back. "William, what are you doing here?" I pushed past him and stepped inside. "Where is she?" Dad slowly closed the door and rubbed his forehead. "She's not here." I turned to face him. "So where is she?" He hesitated. "Don't lie to me, Dad." His shoulders slumped. I don't know. She left town." My stomach dropped. "Left town?" He nodded, avoiding my eyes. Right after I gave her the money. She said she needed to clear her head for a while. She didn't say where she was going. I felt my hands clench into fists. She was running. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm, but then something else hit me. If Olivia had taken off, what about my stepmother? Where's your wife? I asked. Another pause. Then a quiet reply. She left too. I stared at him. A week ago, my stepmother had told him she was going to visit her parents for a few days. She packed a suitcase, kissed him goodbye, and left. Now, when he called to ask when she was coming back, she ignored him. When I asked for my money, she blocked me. This wasn't Olivia needing help. This was a setup. And my dad? He was just a pawn. I ran a hand over my face, trying to process it all. Dad, you didn't just help Olivia. You got played. His face crumpled. He sat down on the couch, his head in his hands. I didn't know, he mumbled. She was crying. She told me she had nowhere else to turn. I thought I was doing the right thing. His voice cracked. I thought I was showing her she was part of this family. I didn't say anything. This wasn't the time for apologies. For Olivia and my stepmother? They were long gone. And they had my money. And no matter what it took, I would get it back. I stood in the middle of my father's living room, fists clenched, mind racing. Olivia and my stepmother weren't just gone. They had planned this, taken my money and left. My dad sat on the couch, rubbing his face as if he just realized what had happened. I didn't care about his guilt. I needed answers. I took a deep breath. Think, Dad. Did Olivia say anything about where she was going? Even something small. He looked up at me, exhausted. She didn't say anything, William. Just that she needed to clear her head. I figured she was just stressed. He sighed and shook his head. I didn't know she was going to disappear. I exhaled sharply. Clear her head? Dad, she didn't just take a break. She ran. Silence. I pulled out my phone and opened Olivia's social media. Private. Of course. I tried my stepmother's. Same thing. They weren't stupid. They knew I'd come looking. But Olivia? She had one fatal flaw: she loved attention. I grabbed my laptop and started digging. I scrolled through her friends' profiles, checking out comments, tagged posts, everything. I knew how she thought. She couldn't resist showing off somewhere. Then I found it. A week ago, a friend had commented under one of her photos. So when are we going on that trip? Olivia had replied. Soon. Can't wait to get out of here for a while. That meant she had been planning this since before she got the money. I clicked on the friend's profile and scrolled down. My heart pounded when I saw a brand new post. An airport selfie. The caption? Miami, here we come. Miami. I turned to my dad. Has Olivia ever talked about Miami? He frowned, thinking. Yeah, a few weeks ago she said how much she wanted to live somewhere warm. She said she was tired of this place. That she wanted to start over. That was all I needed to hear. I immediately started looking for flights. My father was still watching me, his face full of regret. William, I swear I didn't know this was going to happen. I thought I cut him off. You thought she was telling the truth. You thought she just needed help. You didn't even question it. He winced, but didn't argue. He knew he had messed up. I found a flight that left in 5 hours. Expensive, but I didn't care. I booked it without hesitation. I stood up and grabbed my bag. My dad's voice stopped me. What are you going to do when you find her? I turned to him. Get my money back. One way or another. I left without another word. Because if Olivia thought she could steal from me and disappear to Miami like nothing happened, she was in for a very, very bad surprise. The flight to Miami felt like the longest hours of my life. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't even sit still. My mind kept replaying everything: Olivia, my stepmother, my father's pathetic excuses. I wasn't just angry. I was done. When the plane finally landed, I grabbed my bag and stormed through the airport. I didn't have any time to waste. Olivia and my stepmother thought they were safe, thought they had gotten away clean. But they didn't know that I was already here. I took a cab straight to the friend's address. The girl who posted the Miami airport selfie. Her name was Chloe. I didn't know her well, but I knew that she and Olivia had been close for years. If Olivia was in Miami, Chloe would know where she was. The driver pulled up to a fancy-looking apartment complex near the beach. The kind of place where the rent was easily over $4,000 a month. My stomach twisted. This was where Olivia's desperation had led her. I got out and walked to the door, buzzing Chloe's apartment. No answer. I pressed it again. Then again. Finally, a voice crackled through the speaker. Hello? It wasn't Chloe. It was Olivia. For a second, I couldn't believe it. Then I felt something sharp and cold spread through my chest. She was right here. I pressed the button again. Olivia, open the door. Silence. Then her voice again. William? She sounded nervous. Yes. Open the door. More silence. Then the intercom cut off. I took a step back, my hands clenching into fists. She wasn't going to let me in. She thought she could just ignore me and I'd go away. Not happening. I walked around the side of the building, looking for another entrance. There was a gated side entrance for residents. As I stood there, debating whether to wait for someone to come out so I could sneak in, my phone buzzed. A message. From Olivia. I can't talk right now. Please just go home. This isn't what you think. I stared at the screen. Not what I think. I typed back. You stole my money and ran away. I don't care what excuse you have. We're talking. Now. No reply. I was about to call when something caught my eye, a car pulling up to the building. A sleek black Mercedes. Expensive. Too expensive for Chloe. And then my stepmother got out. My stomach twisted in anger. She was dressed like she didn't care. New sunglasses, a designer bag on her arm, looking completely relaxed. Not like someone who was supposedly so desperate for money. I watched her walk to the side entrance. This was my chance. I moved quickly. Just as she swiped her keycard and pushed the gate open, I grabbed the door before it closed and followed her inside. She didn't notice me until we were in the hallway. Then she turned her head and froze. Her mouth opened slightly, the color draining from her face. William Dash. I stepped closer. Surprised? She swallowed hard, clutching her bag as if she thought I was going to snatch it from her hands. What are you doing here? I let out a small laugh. What am I doing here? What do you think? I took another step forward and lowered my voice. Where's Olivia? She glanced toward the end of the hall, as if debating whether or not to run. Bad idea. I wouldn't, I said. You're going to take me to her. Right now. She hesitated, then sighed. William, listen. You don't understand the full situation, Dash. I cut her off. No. You don't understand. You and Olivia stole my money, and you are going to give it back. Either the easy way or the hard way. Your choice. She opened her mouth to argue. Then she must have seen something in my face, because she closed it again. Then, without another word, she turned and walked down the hall. I followed. Because I wasn't leaving without my money. I followed my stepmother down the hall, my pulse pounding. She walked stiffly, her shoulders hunched, as if trying to think her way out. But there was no way out. She stopped in front of a door and turned to me. William, you have to listen. Open the door. Her hand hovered over the doorknob, hesitation written all over her face. Now. She exhaled sharply and unlocked it. The second the door swung open, I stepped inside. And there she was. Olivia was sitting on the couch, legs tucked under her, sipping from a wine glass like she didn't care. She looked up, and the moment she saw me, her face went pale. I closed the door behind me. Hey, Olivia! I said. She put the glass down carefully, as if trying to keep her hands from shaking. William, what are you doing here? I let out a sharp laugh. Are you really asking me that? She swallowed. Look, I know you're mad, but... Mad? I repeated. No, Olivia. Mad is when someone cuts you off in traffic. This? I gestured around the expensive-looking apartment. This is theft. She exchanged glances with my stepmother, who was still standing at the door, as if debating whether to run again. Then Olivia sighed and rubbed her temples. William, listen. It's not what you think. There it was again. The same excuse. Not what I think. I stepped closer. You stole my money and ran off to Miami. Explain to me how that's not what I think it is. She flinched. Then suddenly her expression changed. The fear in her eyes flickered into something else. Annoyance. You want the truth? She snapped. Fine. Yes, I took the money. But I deserved it. I blinked. You deserved it? She crossed her arms. Dad always gave you everything. He treated me like an outsider. You had a house, a career, while I struggled. For once, he'd put me first. And honestly? She scoffed. You'll make that money back in no time. It's not like you needed it. I stared at her, trying to process the sheer audacity of what she had just said. My stepmother finally spoke. William, we can work something out. Maybe we can pay you back slowly. I laughed. A real, bitter laugh. Slowly? Oh, that's sweet. You mean after you spend half of it? I pointed at Olivia. She's sitting here drinking wine in a luxury apartment, and you're telling me you struggled? Olivia's jaw tightened. We struggled. Do you have any idea how hard this is for me? You have no idea what I've been through. I shook my head. Olivia, I don't care. None of this changes the fact that it wasn't your money. She threw up her hands. And what are you going to do? Call the cops? Tell them Dad gave it to me willingly? She smirked. Good luck proving anything. I stared at her. And then I smiled. She didn't know. She didn't know that my dad had already admitted everything over text. I had saved our conversation. She also didn't know that I had a lawyer waiting for my call. She thought she was safe. She had no idea how wrong she was. I pulled out my phone. You might want to rethink that, Olivia. Because in about 5 minutes you're going to have two choices: give me my money or go to jail. The smirk on her face vanished. And for the first time, she looked scared. Jail? She scoffed, but I could see the flicker of panic in her eyes. Please. You've got nothing on me. I tilted my head. Are you sure about that? She opened her mouth to argue, but I was already tapping my screen, scrolling through my messages. Then I turned the phone around and held it up for her to see. A text conversation. Between me and Dad. And right there, in plain words, was his confession. I gave her all the money, William. I thought she needed it. I'm sorry. I watched as Olivia's face drained of color. Her eyes darted to my stepmother, who was now standing rigidly by the door, her grip on her bag tightening. You didn't delete the texts? Olivia hissed at her. My stepmother's lips pressed into a thin line. I didn't think dash. Yeah, that much is obvious. I cut in. And here's the best part. I scrolled down and read the next message aloud. I know I messed up. I'll do whatever it takes to fix it. Just tell me what to do. I put the phone down. If you really think the cops aren't going to take this seriously, be my guest. Call my bluff. Let's see how they feel about fraud, theft, and interstate wire transfers. Olivia was breathing heavily now. She looked between me and my stepmother, her confidence cracking. They wouldn't, she said, but she didn't sound so sure anymore. I smiled. Try me. The room was silent. Then Olivia grabbed her wine glass and threw it at the wall. I didn't flinch. You're such a self-righteous prick, she snapped. You think you're so much better than me, but you're not. You just got lucky in life. I stepped forward and lowered my voice. This isn't about luck, Olivia. This is about consequences. You thought you could steal from me and walk away. Now you're going to fix it. She crossed her arms. And how exactly am I supposed to do that? The money's gone. That stopped me cold. Gone? I repeated. She shrugged, but I could see the tension in her shoulders. Spent. I turned to my stepmother. You too? She hesitated, then murmured. We had debts. Bills. We had to secure a new place before you dash. She caught herself. Before I came looking. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice steady. Let me get this straight. You stole $146,000 and in 2 months it's gone? Olivia scoffed. What did you expect? It's not that much money when you think about it. I ran a hand down my face, trying to keep myself from losing it right then and there. You spent my money and now you tell me there's nothing left? She shrugged. What do you want me to do, William? Pull it out of thin air? I stared at her. Then an idea hit me. You still have the car, right? I asked. Her face twitched. What? Your car. The new SUV you were driving before you left town. You still have it? She didn't answer. I turned to my stepmother. And you? The designer bag you came in with? The jewelry? The new apartment? I gestured around. You didn't pay for any of that with your own money, did you? They both remained silent. Good, I said. Because you're going to sell every single thing you bought with my money. And you're going to pay me back. Every cent. Olivia laughed bitterly. And if I don't? I leaned forward and lowered my voice. Then I'll make sure you and your mother spend the next 5 years explaining yourselves to a judge. For the first time, Olivia actually looked scared. And I wasn't bluffing. Olivia stared at me, breathing heavily. My stepmother looked even worse. Her face had gone pale, her hands gripping the edge of the counter, as if she might collapse. They knew I wasn't bluffing. I pulled out my phone again, this time scrolling through my contacts. You have 24 hours. I said. Either I start seeing my money or my lawyer makes some calls. Olivia clenched her jaw. This is blackmail. I laughed. No, Olivia. This is justice. I turned and headed for the door. I didn't have to say anything more. They knew I meant it. I spent the night in a hotel waiting. I didn't expect them to come up with the full amount, but I wanted them to feel the pressure. Olivia and my stepmother had been smug when they thought they were untouchable. I wanted them to sweat. And then the most incredible thing happened. The next afternoon my phone rang. It was Olivia. Her voice was flat, unemotional. Come back to the apartment. We have your money. I almost didn't believe her. I showed up an hour later, and there it was, a cashier's check for every last cent. $146,000. Plus $5,000 on top. For your trouble. Olivia muttered. I looked at them both. They looked exhausted, defeated. Where did you even get that? I asked. My stepmother didn't answer. Olivia just stared. It didn't matter. The money had come out of nowhere. Maybe they had savings. Maybe they had begged or borrowed from someone. Maybe Olivia sold the damn car overnight. I didn't care. I had what was mine. I took the check, nodded once, and left. No goodbyes. No second chances. When I got back to my dad's house, he was standing at the door waiting for me. When he saw me, his shoulders slumped in relief. You got it? He asked. I held up the check. Every cent. He swallowed hard. William, I dash. I shook my head. Don't. I don't need an apology. He hesitated. But you do forgive me? I thought for a second. I do. And I meant it. He had been manipulated. He wasn't a bad person, just too trusting. But then I looked him in the eye and said, but I won't trust you like that anymore. His face fell, but he nodded. I understand. And that was it. I put the money in the bank the next day, where it should have been in the first place. As for Olivia and my stepmother, I never spoke to them again.